Hello class, welcome to this course, Fundamentals in Food Service Operations. So this is the first online lecture that I'm going to discuss. And before we will proceed to the module 1, we will discuss about the terms that we'll be using for this course. So we have here some terms that we need to identify and we need to know the meaning of each term. So before we will proceed to the module 1, the introduction to food and beverage services, we need to identify these important terms. Number 1, we have cover. So the meaning of cover, it is a setup of tableware for one guest, also used to describe the number of guests. So for example, if you are the server, there is a setup of tablewares in the table. And if there's a guest, it will consider as one cover. Okay. Every one set up tableware for one guest, that is considered one cover. So for example, at the end of the service for that particular day, you have a record of how many cover at that time or at that day. For example, in Monday, there are 80 covers served in Monday. And then in Tuesday, there are 30. So what do you mean by 30 cover? It means that there are 30 set up of tableware of that particular guest being served. Now, next term is crockery. So once you have heard the word crockery, it means that it is the plates, cups, saucers, and bowls, and usually made of china ware. Okay, so for example, we need to set up the crockery. It means that you need to get the plates, cups, saucers, and bowls, and it is made in or made of china ware. Okay, not made in China in the particular place, but made of china ware. Kanang mga mabuak nga mga materyales. Next is cutlery. When you hear the word cutlery, it means that it is the knives, forks, spoons, teaspoons, and service utensils, and usually made of stainless steel. Okay, so the tableware is composed of crockery and cutlery. So the spoons, forks, knives, teaspoons, service utensils, panghukad is called cutlery. Okay, cutlery. The cutlery is usually made of stainless steel, right? Again, the plates, cups, and saucers and bowls are made of china ware. Next is environment. The environment is a term indicating the dining area, also referred to as the dining environment, the place of the dining area. Okay, and for example, as you can observe, if you visited the Miyamori in Kandihay, they change the environment of their dining area depends on the season. For example, this coming Valentine's Day, they have set up a theme concerning Valentine's Day. They put hearts and many more. Next is floor plan. The detailed illustrations of the arrangement of future and all work areas in a restaurant. So in a particular restaurant, the owner or the manager of the particular restaurant have they called it floor plan. There's a specific table for the couple, there's a specific table for the family, there's a specific table for the business men and women. So there is a floor planning. There's an arrangement of the furniture, the tables, the chairs, etc. So there is a floor plan. Next is the term food and beverage. Tourism on of the biggest industry, contributing trillions of dollars. So the food and beverage industry can be classified into two: commercial and non-commercial. I know that you are familiar with this one, food and beverage. Again, in hotel, there is a department called food and beverage. And food and beverage have two departments, main two departments, the dining area and the kitchen. Okay, the food and beverage have two main areas. Um, they have kitchen and the dining area. Next, the 5S, which is very important that the staff that is assigned in the food and beverage must know. First is sort, next is systematize, next is sweep, fourth standardize, and fifth sustain. In Japanese, since the Japanese originated the 5S, Japanese for sort is sheri, Japanese for systematize is shiton, and the Japanese word of sweep is shisu. Standardized is shiketsutsu, and then sustain is shitsuki. By the way, some Japanese term usually use shiketsu, but for this one shiketsutsu. But the known is shiketsu. Okay, this one shiketsu. So the meaning of sort is clearing and classifying and yeah, sorting. Just like for example in the documents, when we say sorting, we need to sort the for example year 2020, we need to keep that, and then we need to also keep another to 2021 and then 2022. So sorting, okay, clearing and classifying. So this is for 2021, this is for 2022, this is 2023. Again, for example, for the cutlery, when we say we need to sort, we need to keep the spoon this side, and then this one for fork, and this one for the knives. Sorting. Next is systematize. Sit in order, put the workplace in order. From the word or from the root word system. So we need to systematize. Sit in order. For example, in the table, there's a proper setup. The spoon must be in the right side, the fork must be in the left side. So there is a proper order or setup. Next is sweep. Okay, once we hear the word sweep, means that maintaining the cleanliness. Okay, that's why in the food and beverage, there's always wiping of the cutlery, the crockery, and any materials or things in the food and beverage. We need to maintain the cleanliness and orderliness. Next is standardize. When we say standardize, we need to ensure that the standard working place is being applied. Okay, for example, this three is the basic one, the 3S. So when we say standardize, it must be uh, standardized. It means that these three must be applied daily and it must be maintained, okay, or it must be managed well. So once we hear the word management, just like in the position in the hotel, for example, food and beverage management, it means that the owner of the particular business have standard, they have set up the the standards and the regulations. So the job of the management is to ensure that the standard set up by the owner must be take place. Okay. And then the fifth one is sustain or shitsuki. This is the last steps oversee new method and result of previous method. Okay. Again, this three is the basic, and the standardized makes sure that the this three must be taken place, must be in order. There must be they must follow what is set up by the owner. They call it SOP, standard operating procedure. And then the last one, it will sustain or it will just oversee. For example, if there's a problem occur in this 3S, the owner or the manager must take note on the problem arises, and it will be helpful for the future meeting, and they will discuss it with the other managers, and they will ask what is the appropriate way to do or what is the best thing to do after having this kind of problem. Okay, so this one is just like it, they make sure that everything is in order. The sustain is thinking about what's the best for the future. Okay, there, this is open for changes for the improvement. Next is we have free sitting, a term used to indicate that no reservation is required. For example, this particular restaurant is a free sitting restaurant. It means that there's no need for a reservation. Because, for example, in the fine dining area, there have a reservation. Before you can have this particular um, place in the restaurants, you must have a reservation. And there are also restaurants that have a reservation at the same time free sitting. Means that you can dine in without reservation. And then we have guest. It is a person who purchases goods or services. Can also they call it buyer or customer or patron. Patron means customer that always dining in your restaurant. Okay, guest. The one or the person who buys your product, which is the food and beverage. Next is handover, not hangover, handover. A period of time in which shifts exchange information to ensure smooth continuation of the function of the department amid changing shifts. So there are different shifts in particular job. For example, in the restaurant, there are first shift, for example, 6 to 3, 6 a.m. until 3 p.m. And then we also have 8 to 5, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You also have 1 to 10, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. And there is also one, they call it graveyard shift. They will duty from, for example, 11 p.m. until 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. depending on the standard of the establishment. So there are different time shifts duty by the staff in a particular, for example, in restaurants. So there is a handover. It means that, for example, the first shift, which is 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., before they will out with their work, they will hand over the unfinished job to the second shift, which is 8 to 5. Okay, so the first shift and second shift, they will meet each other in between. For example, yeah, in the second shift, they will time in at 8 a.m. and then the 6 to 3, before 8 a.m., they are still in the workplace. So they will hand over the job that is not yet done. Okay, for example, I am the first staff. I will say to the other staff, you need to do this, you need to do that because at 3 p.m. I will be out in this workplace. Can you please do this one, do this one? You need to go to room 387 because the guest requested this particular thing and you need to serve it at 3 p.m., which is I am no longer in the workplace. So that is the meaning of handover. You hand over the unfinished job. Next is napkin. A square piece of cloth or paper used at a meal to wipe fingers or lips and protect garments and utensils. It is also known as serviette, okay? Or we call it table napkin, okay? Table napkin, or they call it serviette. This is used by the guests when they wipe something from their mouth after they have eaten the food or drink the beverage. And then there is also called overhang. Overhang means the part of the tablecloth that hangs from the edge of the table. So when you set up the tablecloth in the table, the hanging portion, this is called overhang. So it means that if there's an overhang, it must not touch the floor. Okay. Next is set turnover. It refers to the number of times a set was used by different guests in a time period. So it is important that the owner or the server must take note that how many set turnover. Means that, for example, in table one, there's a particular guest who are dine in, and then after they have eaten their food, um, there's a new guest that will arrive and sit on the same table. So this is called set turnover. They will take note how many set turnover in order to know also how many guests who are dining in the particular restaurant, and they can able to identify the revenue that they have gained on that particular day. Next is tableware. The items placed on the table of guests, including crockery, cutlery, and glassware. Again, there are three main things that will put in the table: the crockery, the cutlery, and glassware. Again, the example of crockery is the plates, bowls, and the example of cutlery, the spoon, fork, knives, and then the glassware are the um, water goblet, wine glass, champagne glass, etc. And we also have that is called tableware. For example, your supervisor will say, "Set up the tableware." Tableware, it means that you need to get the crockery, cutlery, and glassware, and you need to set up in the table. Next is VIP, or very important person. Once your supervisor will say that you need to set up this table because there is a VIP reservation for this particular table. So you need to set up it with the it is more elegant because the guest is VIP, a very important person, a person of great influence or prestige. So you need to give a fabulous serving. You need to have more efforts in serving this particular guest, especially in cooking food. It must be very, very delicious because the guest is VIP. And lastly, the waiter's station. A table or a setup of drawers containing tableware, condiments, menu list, napkins, and other items necessary for service. So there's a particular place wherein the tableware, condiments, menu list, napkins, and other items necessary, for example, toothpicks, etc. It is being placed in the waiter's station, just like a storage area for the waiter's station. There's a tableware, condiments, menu list, napkins, and other items necessary for the service. So this terms is very important in order for us to understand the topic about the module 1, introduction to food and beverage service. So I hope when I have discussed or used terms like this, turnover, tableware, I no longer need to elaborate or discuss more because we already discussed in this particular online lecture. So I hope that you have learned on this particular topic the different terms used in food and beverage services.